This is Sheldon Féris for Indigenous Rights Radio at the Indigenous Media Zone at the United Nations Permanent Forum of Indigenous Peoples 23rd session. We are in New York City, and I am blessed today to have an elder with me by the name of Mazatzin Casas Acosta. He's from the International Council of First Nations and also a cultural attaché for repatriation of antiquities and artifacts for FANA. So, when one reads magazines, newspapers, you see the news, you know that many indigenous peoples are reaching out to try and find the bones of their ancestors, or the paintings or artwork. I know in Namibia, for instance, the Nama people have been engaging with Germany about skulls that were taken to Germany in the early 1900s. So your organization works with these kinds of issues. Can you tell us about, some of the projects that your organization is engaged in currently? Thank you for joining us.
Telasokamati, kini no wika non chantlaka, iwan non chansiwa, newa Mazatzin, iwan no yolopaki, ikwak, nimisita. I said, it's good to see you, my homeboy, and my heart becomes happy when I see you. So, my name is Mazatzin, and yes, we're working partly with the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas, who's first appointed me as cultural attaché for the repatriation of antiquities and artifacts. And part of the main reason is because of the work that we've been carrying out already for a few years, and the attempt to repatriate back to Mexico some of our ancient codices, ancient books, written hundreds and sometimes more years ago, because it's very, very super important. And yes, we'll be working even with South Africa and other groups together, because some original First Nations have already made big opportunities to open doors and bring some of their sacred items back. Our project, we call it the Return of the Sacred. And at first we were focusing primarily on our codex that we're looking at. But then so many things have come up since we began this project. And now the sacred have become whatever is sacred to one, you see? When we found out about all the atrocities that we found that had happened in Canada regarding the boarding schools and all those young children, then that became the sacred, the return of the sacred, And I'm from California, and we have a lot of universities, and they tell us that there's more indigenous people, like buried there than walking upon the campus, So we're asking for everywhere and any place to begin the process. Also, we're taking this from a point of view. We're not like mad at anybody. We're not coming after anybody. We're just saying, hey, it's about time. So we can get together. Maybe in a force, or what do you call it, as an expression of good faith that we can work together. But first we got to return. So we call that to be able to decolonize, so we can reconciliate again. The human family. So our main project, excuse me, our main project is the return of the Codex Borgia. That's one that we're after particularly. But as you said, many nations have already started returning their artifacts, their mainly the sacred bones of the sacred people have been taken. But I think also that besides that, when our sacred, our spirituality, is alive in some of those ancient books. Our spirituality is there, so it should not be kept somewhere else far away. And most of those items, as you might know, were taken without free and prior consent.
So what is the Codex Borgia that you mentioned? Just break it down for us so that we understand what it is and why it's so important to you and your people.
Oh, great, good. Yeah, the Codex Borgia is we call it Amochtli, which means sacred book, Huehuetlatoli, which means the ancestral words. So the Codex Borgia we have found in our study that we've been doing for the past 30 years, thanks to those that came before us, and we stand on their shoulders to continue the work. And so the Codex Borgia is a culmination of studies, we say, including the Aztec calendar that we have here, that is the culmination of thousands of peoples across thousands of miles of the Western Hemisphere, and across thousands of years of patient and careful, respectful observation of studies of both the cosmos and the natural environment around us. And this was put down in the sacred books. But it allowed mainly the opportunity for a human being to learn to live in harmony with everything and everybody that surrounds them, you know. And that's why if you go back into the original First Nations of this continent, you know, you go back thousands of years, you know, and with, I'm sure they came through, you know, had to learn how to behave, but they came to the conclusion that we have a son who treats us like a good father because he gives light and warmth on everybody alike, and we have a Mother Earth who's a good mother, gives food, clothing, and shelter to everybody alike. So we have that concept. So we're connected to the earth, and that's why we know that everybody we see is our brother and our sister. Okay, so the Codex Borgia has got all the sacred writings and drawings in there of our people. One thing important, they tell us it comes from the hills of Oaxaca, Puebla, and that area of Mexico. Okay, but it's a culmination. A culmination. So it was not put only together by the people, the ancient people of Mexico, but it's a culmination of people from South America, North America, and conclusion. So we believe that the Aztec calendar is, you want to call it, the evidence, you know, of the congruence and the relationship, national and international relationship of the people upon this continent, because it took thousands of years to come to this conclusion. See, and on this day today, for example, today you know, we're on the days of Flint on our calendar. So after thousands of years, hundreds of years, we still are carrying our count on our calendar system, and I think that's important.
Just from your explanation, it sounds perfectly natural for the book to be among the people who put it together over thousands of years.
Totally.
So when we talk about artifacts, we talk about things ancient, and we know that we will not be around forever. All of our ancestors have passed on. What are we doing to ensure that the ones coming after us, our children, our youth, stay interested in ensuring that these, because in many cases it takes hundreds of years for the artifacts to be returned to us. So somebody has to take the baton and keep running. Are we talking to our young'uns to ensure that they keep on fighting the fight?
Thank you. Good for that good question, because that's exactly what it's about. So it's real hard to teach to the young ones the positive contents of our culture when it's being called something else somewhere else and kept somewhere else and being described as something else. I'll give you an example. Right here today, here in New York, where we're at, I sent in one of the museums, right, to have an Aztec calendar, you know. But the description that's given there is not exactly what we've been taught by our culture and traditions, you know. Yeah. So it'd be good to have an opportunity. That's why, like we said, we're not coming after anybody to shame them or hurt them or nothing like that. We just want to contribute to the information that's being held of our sacred items. Mm-hmm. You know, as one time I had the opportunity to be in the British Museum, where I also found artifacts and that are belonging to Mexico, let's say it, and also the description that was placed there, it would not have it would have been edited by our ancestors, you know. Yeah. So I said all we want to do is clarify some things, and as you know, like all history, there's hundreds and thousands of books written. Well, let's make it 1,001, you know, because we're not competing, you know, we're just trying to clarify. So for the young people, the best thing we can do, many times when I do a presentation to young people, I have to begin by apologizing that I was not, I don't know, responsible enough to even guarantee them a clean glass of water, you know. I didn't defend the environment. I didn't do everything I could to defend the environment. But if we give them the cultural inheritance, in our culture, it tells you how to defend the environment, how to protect it, you know. In our calendar system, we got the 4 elements on our calendar, you know. So that's very important. Our young people, yesterday had an opportunity in one of these side events to listen to the young people, you know, talking about what they wanted and what they needed, you know. And when we presented the calendar, they were very super excited, okay. So what we need is we need to be able to bring our teachings into the schools, into the curriculum of the schools, not just to be, you know, something they study for a day or a week, but to actually follow through. So this teaching, we have taken it to many people. One real important thing, I find that, in fact, I tell them now, it's not an Aztec thing, it's not just a Mexican thing, It's not an Indian thing. It's a human experience. There's personal transcendence with global consequences. So in other words, it opens up its arms and embraces everybody from whatever continent you are, because we're teaching them cosmic identity. And that cosmic identity has no bearing by the color of your skin or your eyes or your hair or where you come from. It's just when did you take that breath of life, and what is your potential, and how can you fulfill your mission?
Oh, that's a very, very good message, and I'm certain that you have done plenty. I'm certain that the water is clean where you are from, you know. So we want to say thank you to Elder Mazatzin Casas Acosta from the International Council of First Nations. I think it's important for us to just lift up this calendar so that people can see what we are talking about. Let's just make sure that we get it in. This is Sheldon Féris for Indigenous Rights Radio, New York City.